Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check today's video out. And guys, today I want to talk about one of the most overlooked aspects of fishing, and that's how often you retie your lures. And the question is, what we're going to discuss here, is how often do you need to retie? Because there's a lot of variables surrounding this, and I want to give you guys some tips and advice because that is the only link between you and the fish as far as in terms of breaking fish off or losing fish. So I want to go over in how I do it as far as in terms of the number of times I do it versus the conditions that I'm fishing in. Because there's a lot of different stuff. It's like a lot of people think just because your line has a fray in it that you want to retie, but there's other times that you want to do it as well that we're going to go over in today's video. Also, guys, before we get started, just a quick reminder, I'd like to invite anyone interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me. You can do that by going to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler. Just shoot me a private message. We're getting some trips lined out for the summer. Much appreciated. And also, guys, I'd like to invite everybody to please consider checking out those Fish of the Moment lake map breakdowns that I build for Fish of the Moment. We got our summer maps up on the site. Great resources to get some new spots on your favorite lake or lake you've never been to. So I'll have all those links in the description. Really appreciate that. Okay, one of the things that I have noticed a lot in bass fishing is most people don't retie enough. And it seems like the reason I say this is like in tournaments that I fished over the country for, the last 40 years, it seems like I'm always retying and I never see my co-anglers retying ever. It's like I retie a lot, and I want to talk about why you should do that and the times that you should consider retying. Now, first of all, a lot of it has to do with the type of cover that you're fishing and how heavy the line that you're using. That's a big determination because obviously the lighter the line you're using, the less leeway that you have if you do have some type of a fray or imperfection in your line in terms of breaking off. So here's the sort of how I go about determining how much that I retie. First of all, you have the obvious. When your line is you can feel it frayed or you can see it frayed. Say, for example, you get it against a dock piling, maybe you get caught up on a rock and there's a little fray there, or you're over a limb. This is easy to do. Anytime that you think that you possibly have a fray, let's say, for example, you pitched in next to a laydown tree and maybe you got hung up a little bit and you were pulling on it before it came off, or maybe that you had a fish down in a piece of cover that you finally got out. Always take time to check your line with your fingers or your lips. Now, first thing I do is I just run my fingers up and down the line. If I feel anything but smoothness, I immediately retie. And a lot of times if I feel like I'm feeling there and maybe it's like, man, maybe I did and didn't feel something, I'll just put it between my lips and run it between my lips, more sensitive. And if there's any friction or roughness to it, just take a second and retie your line. It's not that big of a deal because that's probably reduced your line test in half depending upon how bad that fray is. Okay, the next time that you need to retie, and this is probably the one that gets overlooked the most, and what I would highly suggest is if you get a backlash in your bait casting reel and you're picking that backlash out, you need to retie or you need to cut the line out of the backlash. Because what happens, let's say you make a cast and you get a backlash and then you're pulling that backlash out, or when you cast, you get that backlash and you hear the line coming over the spool like it's not coming off smooth, you get a friction burn by doing that. So if you're ever in that situation where you get a bad backlash or you cast and you sort of cast over a bird's nest, peel that part out and you're going to notice the difference in it, because when you peel the backlash part out, the line's going to have some small kinks or curls in it. Cut that off and start your line fresh below that, because that friction burn is worse than a fray. It's like it will weaken the line unbelievably. And a lot of people don't understand this and they break off a lot of fish as a result of it. The same with a spinning outfit. If you get a loop in a spinning outfit and you make that cast and you hear your line going across that loop, cut that loop out of there and start fresh. It doesn't take that long, but I can promise you're going to break off unless you do that. Another couple times that I'll retie is if I'm if I get hung up like on a limb or something and I pull real hard and my line's not frayed because I'm not around anything, but if I have to put a lot of tension on that line, I feel like the knot gets weaker. So you want to retie with that. Given it varies between, the technique I'm using and the pound test that I'm using, but I usually retie an average of anywhere between 10 to 20 times a day during the course of a fishing day. Sometimes more, sometimes less, just depends on what I'm doing. But one final thing to remember is if you're fishing the same bait for a long time, let's say you're fishing a crankbait or spinner bait or whatever, and you fished for it for 4 or 5 hours, and even if you haven't come across anything, even if you're fishing like a swim bait over open water, take time to retie, because just that constant casting and putting pressure on that knot's going to weaken it too. So quick to do. It's just like I said, get a knot that you're comfortable with, that you can tie real quick. I've always been a big advocate that I'm not really concerned that much about the type of knot that you tie, but you need to be able to tie it fast, because that encourages you to retie. If you think that you're tying like the best knot and it's a big complicated knot, hard to tie, it's going to deter you from wanting to retie. So find a knot that you can tie quick, like a Palomar knot. Retie often. It's easy to do. It's going to definitely save you some fish. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll see you.